The water started coming through the ceiling at 5:42 on a Monday morning. I remember the time because my son Noah was standing beside my bed, shaking my shoulder and whispering, "Mom, the floor is wet." I thought he was dreaming. Then I heard the dripping. By the time I reached the hallway, water was running down the wall beside the bathroom. A pipe had burst somewhere above us, and the ceiling had already started sagging. Noah was 6. He stood there in dinosaur pajamas, holding his favorite stuffed bear against his chest. "Are we going to fall through the floor?" he asked. "No," I said. I wasn't completely sure. I called the building manager. He told me we had to leave immediately while they shut off the water and inspected the damage. Possibly one night, possibly several. I packed 2 bags, Noah's school things, his medication, and the stuffed bear. Then I called my mother. My parents lived about 20 minutes away in a large house with 4 bedrooms. My younger brother Daniel and his wife had recently moved in temporarily while they renovated their own house. They had 2 children, so my parents had already rearranged everything around them. Still, I thought there would be room for Noah and me. "Mom, there's been an accident at the apartment," I explained. "We need somewhere to stay for a few days." There was a pause. Then she said, "You can come if you need to." I breathed out. "But Danielle's children already have the spare rooms." I waited. And honestly, she continued, "There isn't really a place suitable for Noah." I looked at my son. He was sitting on the couch, carefully drying his stuffed bear with a towel. "Okay," I said. My mother seemed surprised by how quickly I answered. "You're not upset?" "I understand." And I ended the call. For years, I'd been the person my family called whenever something needed fixing. Tax forms, online applications, doctor appointments, insurance paperwork, school registrations. If someone needed a document found, a phone call made, or a problem solved, they called me. I'd always told myself that this was simply what families did for one another. That morning, something changed. Not dramatically. There was no shouting, no slammed doors. I simply stopped assuming that being useful meant I was automatically wanted. My colleague Melissa heard what happened and offered her guest room before I even finished explaining. She lived in a small townhouse with a very loud golden retriever named Murphy. Noah adored him immediately. By lunchtime, he was sitting on the floor throwing a tennis ball across the living room while Murphy chased it. "Mom," he said, laughing, "this is like a vacation." I smiled. Something like that. For the next 4 days, I worked from Melissa's dining table. I attended meetings with headphones on while Noah did his homework beside me. I spoke to the building manager. I arranged for the damaged ceiling to be repaired. I contacted Noah's school. The temporary change in our morning route. I was busy, but I wasn't helpless. That distinction mattered more than I expected. On the second evening, my mother called. "Are you 2 managing?" "We're fine." "Where are you staying?" "With a friend." There was another pause. "You should have told me." I almost laughed. "You said there wasn't room." I didn't mean it like that. I didn't argue. I just said, "Okay." 3 days later, my father called. This time, he didn't ask about the apartment. He asked if I could help him with his pension paperwork. Apparently, a form had been rejected online, and he couldn't figure out why. Normally, I would have stopped everything. That was what I'd always done. But I was sitting at Melissa's table with Noah's school books spread across the floor. "I can't get to it today," I said. "It shouldn't take you long." "I know. So when can you do it?" "I'll look at it when I have time." He went quiet. Then he said, "You seem different lately." I looked through the doorway. Noah was helping Murphy find his ball. "Maybe I'm just busy," I said. My father didn't respond. The following morning, my mother sent me a long message. It began with an apology, but halfway through, the apology turned into an explanation. She said the house had been chaotic. She said Danielle's children needed stability. She said she hadn't realized how difficult the situation would be. She said she loved Noah. All of those things might have been true, but none of them changed what had happened. I read the message twice. Then I replied, "I appreciate you explaining. Nothing else. No, don't worry. No, it's okay. No promise that everything was fine." I wasn't angry. I simply wasn't going to erase the uncomfortable part of the conversation, just because everyone else wanted to feel comfortable again. On Friday afternoon, the building manager called. The apartment was ready. The damaged ceiling had been repaired, the leak had been fixed, and the building had passed inspection. Noah and I went home that evening. He ran into his bedroom and grabbed his stuffed bear from the bag. Then he looked at me. "Can Murphy come over tomorrow?" I laughed. "We'll ask Melissa." He nodded seriously. Then he disappeared into his room. I stood alone in the kitchen. For a moment, I thought about my parents, about how quickly my mother had found space for everyone else, about how many times I had rearranged my own life whenever they needed something. And I realized something uncomfortable. The hardest part wasn't that they hadn't given me a room. It was that I had spent years believing I needed to earn my place in my own family by being useful. That night, I made Noah grilled cheese sandwiches. He told me an extremely detailed story about Murphy stealing a sock. I listened. I laughed. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel responsible for fixing anything outside the four walls of our apartment. My family hadn't suddenly become cruel. They hadn't suddenly become strangers. They were still my family. But I had finally learned the difference between loving people and constantly making myself available to them. I could love them without running every time they called. I could care without carrying everything. And most importantly, I could make sure my son never grew up believing that he had to earn a place at someone's table. He already had one, right beside me, and this time I wasn't moving. If you enjoy emotional, dramatic, and unforgettable stories, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Your subscription means a lot to me and helps me continue bringing you more amazing stories. Subscribe now and join the family.